Hello, everyone. A very warm welcome to all participants who have taken time out to attend this workshop. In the year gone by, SCAI has sought to increase awareness for the fraternity by conducting monthly webinars on the topics important to the industry. We are thrilled with the response these webinars have received from the people. We have also started workshops on the subjects that will help the industry members in enhancing their knowledge and day-to-day operational skills. Our workshops have received overwhelming response from the industry professionals across the country. First workshop was conducted on leasing and zoning in shopping malls. It was conducted by Rajneesh Mahajan. The second workshop was conducted by Mr. Yogeshwar Sharma, and the subject was marketing in shopping malls. The response was tremendous. Today's subject is the psychology of shopping and its impact on shopping malls. Mr. V. Muhammad Ali, he is a CEO, Retail, Prestige Group. He's an exemplary shopping center professional, a well-known name in the industry. He is known all over for his thorough understanding of consumer behavior. He is conducting today's workshop. I welcome Mr. Muhammad Ali and I request him to start the session. But yes, I'm requesting all my viewers to pose their questions. Whatever is coming to their mind, you can ask Mr. Muhammad Ali. So over to Mr. Muhammad Ali.
Firstly, I'd like to welcome all the shopping center professionals for this session. And I'd like to thank SCAI for giving us the opportunity, me and everybody here, to learn from each other. And I think experience is the biggest teacher. We all study, we all acquire technical skills when we are studying, but what job gives you, the work gives you, is a knowledge which is very precious. So we have our experiences over a period of time, and to share our experience and to learn from each other's experience is the best learning that no college in the world can provide. So to that extent, I will endorse what Anjeev just mentioned, that these seminars do add a lot of value. It is for young professionals who are trying to make a career in malls, and it is for retail professionals who want to be a part of malls. There are several retail chains in India who operate only in malls, and they say, we just want to be in malls and we don't want to take high street for whatever reason. So whoso is connected with the mall industry will benefit from these learnings. So we are a member. We have been a founder member, Prestige Group, and I would welcome all of you to be a part of this association. The more people join, is the more strength we will have, and we can in future lobby and get things our way. And then for that, we need to be connected. Yeah. So with that said, I'd like to start with my session. So when Sunil asked me to do a session, first thing I told him was, I'm not going to speak about leasing. I'm not going to speak about operations. I'm not going to speak about marketing. I'm not going to speak about safety, so on and so forth. I think those things we all discuss. I want to speak about a very different topic, a topic which became a favorite subject of mine since pandemic, and that is psychology. So before I start, I'd like to speak a little bit about psychology and why psychology. So during pandemic, we all had time.
Yeah.
We all had a lot of time. The malls were closed and I was sitting at home. Work was less. So I stumbled upon something to do with psychological topic. So I started studying. I liked it. Then I wanted to study more. Then I tried to do certification. So I did my transaction analysis course and I got a certification, TA 101. And then after that, I have I'm pursuing International Coaching Federation, ICF Coaching Federation, which is an ACC program. It's a very intensive program, but that is something which I'm doing at my own pace. So we just opened a 1 million square feet mall, Forum Mall in South Bangalore. So I got busy, and we're opening a mall in Kochi. So hence I have stopped studying, but I will continue soon and study in my own pace. Now, these are fields of behavioral psychology. And this is not the clinical psychology where you cure people, where people have some problems. So this is analyzing behavior. And according to me, you will agree with me once I am done. Shopping is a psychological process. So we will delve into that and we'll understand how and why we believe that shopping is a psychological process. And what is it that we can take from this learning? It will be a very different session. There are a few concepts that I will be presenting, which you might have heard, but I feel you wouldn't have, many you wouldn't have heard. And then we will dwell on these concepts, and then we will come back to how we relate it to our business, and then how this can be, useful to us. Now, I would request all of you to kindly make notes as much as you can. And then if you have some question, maybe you can write down the question or you can post on the go. But I am not here to speak about what you should do. That is not I'm here for. I'm going to share with you the concepts which, so malls have been in my life. So I have now spent 21 years in shopping malls, and probably one of the few first professionals of shopping mall in the country, part of the first mall which opened in Koramangala, the Forum Mall in 2004. And since then, I have been doing shopping malls, done about 12 malls. And then now this 2-3 years of psychological study. So I have merged these two concepts, and let's see what comes out of that. Yeah. However, I must say one thing. I'm used to speaking in front of an audience, where I see the audience, I connect with the audience, and that gives me a lot of energy. But here it's a little different. I can see that there are 91 participants, but unfortunately, I can't see you people. And then hence, I hope I still gather my energy with a belief system that you guys are listening. Yeah. So now I would like to share something. Yes. Now, Mr. Sunil, can you please confirm if you're all able to see what is there on the screen?
Yes. Yes, Ali, you can go.
Okay. So at all times, Sunil, only you can speak, right? I can't hear anybody else speak, correct?
Yes, Ali.
Okay.
They can raise their questions.
Okay, fine. No problem. So before I start talking about psychology, and before I start talking about malls, let's understand something, which is the Diderot effect. Please pay attention to this story. It's a very interesting story. It's a real story. And then this story combines two elements which we are going to discuss about. So this is about a gentleman called Denis Diderot. He lived in 17th century. He lived in France. He was a very famous philosopher, literature, and then he made world's first encyclopedia. And something happened there. So while he was living his life, being the best of what he was in psychology and literature, he had a huge library. He compiled the first encyclopedia and all that was going on. He got so busy with his passion that he forgot to keep an eye on his finances. And he realized that he has no money, and he has gone bankrupt. And then he has a daughter who's supposed to get married, and he has no money to get his daughter married. So he goes through a lot of stress. And at this point in time, he comes to this decision that the only asset that he has is his library, is his encyclopedia. Now, we're talking about 17th century. So these are all transcripts that you have to have. If you have, you have. If you don't have, you don't have. So this is not a digital era where information can just flow. So that was an asset what he had. So he had an amazing library. And then the word got out that he wants to sell his library, his lifetime work. So a Russian queen, who was his fan, decided to buy that library, and she paid him handsomely. She paid him a huge amount of money. And then suddenly he was rich. So he sold his library and he was rich. And while he was, walking on the streets in Paris on one day, he has money. He comes across a very beautiful robe, a silk robe. And he says, this is such an amazing robe. Let me buy this. Yeah. And he asks, of course, how much will a robe be? And now he has money. So he buys the robe and he is very excited. He goes home and he throws the robe on the sofa. And then he's very happy. So he's sitting in the sofa, he's enjoying this beautiful robe, and he's going about his life. He's eating, he's enjoying life, planning for his daughter's wedding. But then something is not right. Every time he comes home and he sees this robe, he feels that something is incomplete, because the sofa on which this robe is thrown is a very old, torn, worn out sofa, because he lived his life, a frugal life, without much to spare. So he had no money to do the interiors and so on and so forth. So it was not going. So this beautiful robe was not going with the old sofa. So he tried to ignore it, but he couldn't. So what he did was he went and bought a new sofa. And how much will a sofa be? And he has money. And once he bought the sofa and he threw this new robe on the new sofa, everything was fine. He says, fine, now there is an order and I am now happy. He lives for a few more days and he still thinks that there's still something missing. And then he realizes that the curtain behind this new robe and the new sofa is not going with this, the whole ambience, the whole aesthetics is not flowing in. There's no synergy. So what he does, he goes and changes the curtain. And then afterwards, the Diderot effect happened. Then he changed the carpet, then he changed the chair, then he changed the false ceiling, then he changed the lighting, then he goes buy some china, he goes and buys some vases, some flowers, goes on and on and on and on, ladies and gentlemen, to such an effect that he spent his entire money completing that house because it had to make sense. And then now he again doesn't have money for his daughter's wedding. Now, this is what happened with Diderot. Okay. So what is the learning here? That if you all delve into yourselves, you will analyze, and you can analyze, that there has been a Diderot effect in all your lives. Okay. Somebody would be a biker. So I have a colleague who's a biker. And then he spends a lot of time, effort, and money making that bike perfect. Somebody is a watch collector, or somebody is trying to do a house, and so on and so forth. And you just go mad. I mean, you spend a lot of time, effort, and money in doing this, in completing this theory. Now, this is a big study in consumerism. People study this. It's a social phenomena related to consumer goods. And why I'm telling this story is, this is how shopping happens. So when you're talking about being in shopping malls or a shopping mall or shopping center professional, let's first understand how shopping happens. And this is the effect that is taking place. Two things. One, shopping is a scientific process. It's not a physical process where somebody comes with money and parts the money and takes a product. No, it's a scientific process. Two, is what Paco Underhill said. If people bought only what they need, the economy of the world will collapse. In fact, there won't be any need for malls at all. There wouldn't have been malls in this world. If people bought only what they need, the whole economy of the world would collapse. Now, Paco Underhill has written some amazing books. One of his books, which is one of the first books that I read when I joined the mall industry in 2002, is Why We Buy. I'm sure most of you have read it. It's an amazing book with a lot of concepts. Then he wrote one more book called Call of the Mall. You should read these books. It will really give you an understanding, a deep understanding of what you're dealing with. You need to understand your subject more. And then the third thing that I want to highlight is what Dave Ramsey said, that today's customers are shoppers, buy things they don't need with money they don't have to impress people they don't like. That is what is happening. Whether it's an online, whether it's an offline, whether it's in organized retail, especially in shopping malls, this is what is happening. So what we are seeing happen in our floors is a scientific process where people are buying things they don't need with money they don't have to impress people they don't like. So with that, now I'll move to the topic, the psychology of shopping. So this is bringing these two concepts together and then trying to learn some concepts which we can then, I'll show you how we can then bring it inside our properties. Now, coming to Sunil, I have a question before I proceed. Sunil, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Now, do we have any retail professionals in this session today?
Yeah, there are three retailers who have already joined.
Oh, okay. That's fantastic. So we have all the stakeholders in with us today. So with reference to malls in India, as majority are shopping center professionals and retailers also who do business with malls, so it is related to all of us. When it comes to malls in India, I strongly believe that we have a problem. There is a problem. Now, some may disagree. They'll say, where's the problem? Everything is fine. And some will deny that there is any problem, yeah. Or some will agree, yes, there is a problem, depending upon which mall chain or which mall group you're working in. But generally, we have a problem. And let's first try to understand the problem and then see how psychology can solve the problem. So let me ask two questions. And with two questions, we all will understand what the problem is. The first question is this. Now, according to SCAI, and according to a lot of data which several IPCs have computed, there are around 500 malls in India. Yeah, 500 malls. So the question is, of these 500 malls, how many malls are successful? And when I say how many malls are successful, I mean where a mall is about 3 lakh square feet plus, and success could be defined as a mall where the occupancy is 90% plus, where retailers don't want to leave. And then there's several set of retailers who want to take space, and then they are able to charge the rents that I mentioned in the agreement, and there's no side letter on pure revenue share. So 90% plus occupancy mall with a decent trading is a successful mall. So whenever we ask this question, the response that come is around 45 to 50. There are about 50 malls in the country who are considered as successful, 3 lakh square feet plus with 90% occupancy, and retailers don't want to leave and they want to continue paying rents. Otherwise, it's a bad story. There's about 90% of the malls who aren't doing well. The occupancy is less than 90%. The existing retailers want to leave, or they will stay on a pure revenue share basis. It's a blackmail. And then, life is different there. So 10% is the success rate when it comes to malls in India, which is a problem. Now, let me intensify the problem. The next question. How many malls in this country, and it's an interesting question, you should also write this. How many malls in this country are in big billion league? Big billion league. A very interesting point. Actually, I spoke about this point in that Digital Retail Conference and in MAPIC conference. That is, big billion is $1 billion is 100 crores. So how many malls in this country do 100 crores a month sale, which is the sum turnover of all retailers? We call it the gross turnover, the total sales of all stores in a particular mall in a month. So if 100 crores a month sale, and month after month, we're not talking about one end of season sale, we touch 100 crores. 1 month in a whole year is not a big billion mall. I'm saying a big billion mall is whose average monthly sale is 100 crores, and they do 1,200 crores plus per annum in a year per mall. And we have some data, we did some research, and then we believe from the data that I have, the numbers that I have, there are about 35 malls in India who are in this big billion league. There are 35 malls who do 1,200 crores plus turnover per annum, 100 crores per month. So out of 500 malls, you have 35 malls who are in big billion league. And big billion is not a great number compared to international markets. 100 crores, if you convert it in dollars and compare with malls abroad, they do much, much more. So hence we have a problem. Okay. Now, why is this happening? Why 90% of the malls are failing to maintain 90% occupancy? And why is that only 35 malls in the country do 100 crores a month consistently, or 1,200 crores per annum consistently? Well, that's a very important question. And this is something that we will try and find. And I will try and add value to this with my own story. Now, some of you would recognize this mall. This is the first mall. First mall in the sense, mall with the multiple. The modern version of our mall, they have been complexes, but what we call a mall is mall where there is a multiplex, a department store, a food court, and so on and so forth. So officially, the first multiplex in the country opened in Forum Koramangala, Bangalore. And hence, the story is that in 2002, when I joined Prestige for developing this mall was in construction stage. Maybe we were about first floor, second floor slab. And then the mall was under construction. So I used to do leasing. So so my job was, I was in leasing department. That's how I started my career. So I used to take retailers from Brigade Road and Commercial Street, the franchising community, to show the mall. And for those who know Koramangala today, the story was very different 21 years back, or 22 years back, 21 years back. The story was very different, where about 2-3 kilometers before Forum Koramangala, I used to hit a green patch. I mean, that's how the environment was then. And there was hardly any retail. There was hardly any residential. So I used to take retailers, and just before reaching, retailers used to ask me this question, okay, where are you taking me? I think Bangalore is over because there's nothing here. I can see green patches around me. And that's a usual response that retailers used to give me. And many retailers who came to the mall, who saw the mall, said, okay, there is no catchment around this place. I mean, there's a lot of greenery and hardly any stores, and you have this micro factory and then so on and so forth. And who's going to come here from Brigade Road or Commercial Street and shop? Because those were the high street shopping destinations. This was a response. Now, fast forward 21 years, 2023. We had 77 stores in that mall in Forum Koramangala. Before fast forwarding, we had 77 stores in Koramangala. And even today, 21 years later, we have 77 stores. But guess what happened around Forum Koramangala? There are about 300 stores, retail stores, in and around Forum Koramangala, in about 3 to 4 kilometer radius. 300 to 400 stores have come, whereas Forum has still 77 stores. When we opened this mall, we had 5 restaurants in this mall, 5 restaurants. Today, there are about 300 restaurants in and around Forum Koramangala, in a 3 kilometer radius. With a lot of difficulty, I signed a Louis Philippe shop. Today, there are 3 Louis Philippe shops in a 3 kilometer radius from Forum Koramangala. We signed a Levi's store. We still have the Levi's store in the same location. But the problem is we have 4 Levi's stores in and around 3 to 4 kilometer radius of Forum Koramangala. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the trading density of Forum has increased definitely, but not as much as it could have. And this mall doesn't do 100 crores. It's far from 100 crores even today. So if you apply this theory to any city in the country, you take Mumbai, for example. In 2004, Mumbai saw its first mall. And then from 2004 to 23, you take all the malls that were built, 3 lakh square feet plus, and count the number of stores in each mall, you will hit a number of around 1,000, say about 25, 30 malls which are there in Mumbai, and say 100, 150 stores each. So about 700, 800 stores, or less than 1,000. But if you see in last 21 years, the number of high street stores that have come in and around Mumbai, it will be 10x. And you can take any example in Delhi, you can take any example in any city in Hyderabad, for example. Hyderabad retail thrives in Hyderabad in high street. I mean, we had a mall in Hyderabad. I built a mall And then when I used to take retailers there, they used to come see the mall, but then go sign in High Street because they say Banjara Hills is unavoidable. You can't not have a store there. So that's the response, what is happening. Now, if this is the scenario, if retailers are opening so many stores in High Street, we have to ask this question, what about us? I mean, how do we, become relevant, and how do we reach the big billion? Now, the question is, why is this happening? Why have retailers expanded in high streets, which doesn't have in the infrastructure that a mall can provide? And why this movement happened? Now, somewhere you can't blame the retailers, because if you try to understand the real cause, it's not the retailers. And if I have to give you an example, let me give you an example. There's a place in South Africa. It's called Masai Mara. So it's a national park. It's an amazing forest with some amazing animals in the world. But what happens during summers? All animals migrate. The animals who are like deers and antelopes and bisons and so on and so forth, who depend on the grass, because during summers it dries up, and then the pastures are on the other side of the river. So all these animals migrate, and when these animals migrate, which is the food for the other carnivorous animals like lions and cheetahs and so on and so forth, what option do they have? They also have to migrate. So they have to go where these guys are going. I mean, they don't eat grass, but since the food is moving on the other side of the river, they also move along with them. So similarly, retail has been in high street, but when malls came in, retailers came to malls. But then when customers started going to the high street and shopping more in high street, retailers had no choice but to expand in high street. So hence, now we have to move our attention from the retailers, and we have to stop blaming them for going to high streets and opening 3-4 stores around our mall or your respective mall and then cannibalizing. You can argue that point, but then you can't blame them because people are moving and buying. So that, the chicken and the egg story, I think, is the customer who's already made a decision. So then I try to understand why customers do that. That's an interesting question. Why wouldn't customers want to buy in malls? Why is it that they prefer to shop in high streets? Now, that's a very interesting question. And that is where psychology will come in. Now, let me ask this question. What is the difference between buying and shopping? Now, this is something which I made as a topic line for this presentation, that buying is physiological, shopping is psychological, but both are biological because it's happening inside you. Now, what is the difference between buying and shopping? When people collect Rolex watches, when somebody is purchasing a Rolex watch, what are they doing? Are they buying? Are they shopping? I really wish if I could have interacted with you guys. I would have loved to hear a response. Buying of a Rolex watch, a watch made of steel, a Rolex watch, cost 8 lakhs, 9 lakhs, not available. There is a waiting line. So you have to pay 8 lakhs, 9 lakhs. You have to wait for 2 to 3 years to get your allotment. This is people who know, but this is the reality of a Rolex watch. You go to any Rolex boutique in the world, the showroom is empty. What is happening? Okay, leave that aside. We'll come to that later. But buying a steel watch which has no precious stone, and if you see the weight of steel, you can buy a Titan watch or a Timex watch or a Tissot watch for 10% of the price. So when you're getting the same steel watch, which shows the same time, why would you spend 10 times more and buy a Rolex watch? And then when people are doing that, are they buying or are they shopping? This is a question that you should ask yourself. What is happening? And similarly, if there are women, because men would have already understood whether it was buying or shopping, but women wouldn't understand. So I have to give another example for the ladies. When somebody buys or shops, when somebody shops for a Louis Vuitton bag, are they buying? Are they shopping? The same process, because you're buying a leather bag, and there are several Indian brands, and I don't want to name any. There are several Indian brands who are selling genuine leather bag, the same size, the same quantum of leather, for 10% of the price, but still people are paying 6.5 lakhs. Why is it happening? In fact, we have a luxury mall, UB City, the collection, and we own and operate a mall where Louis Vuitton is operating. I can't disclose the numbers, but they are doing sales which you won't believe. I mean, that's the kind of number. They sell about 5 to 6 bags a day worth 5-6 lakhs. So why are people doing this? And when people are doing this, are they buying or are they shopping? Now, that is where the difference is. Actually, when they are purchasing a Rolex or a LV, it's not a buying process. It's a process of shopping. And there is a difference between them. Buying is physiological. Shopping is psychological. So when you get into this kind of intense products, then it's not a physiological need. So when you wake up in the morning, you need cornflakes. When you go to your bathroom, you need certain essentials. So that is buying. So you buy based on the needs. That's a needs-based buying. There are things that you need. There are brands which people buy to cover their bodies. So that is a buying process. But there are certain brands that you don't buy, you shop. So if you need to cover yourself, you buy a jeans. I don't want to name brands which are lower price point brands. So that is buying. But when you want to buy an Armani jeans, you're immediately shopping and you're not buying. So let's understand this in the next slide. Now, how does that happen? There are two sides to the brain as per psychologists. The left side and the right side. There's an analytical side and then there's a creative side. Okay? One part of the brain analyzes. You say 2 plus 2, the left side of the brain will say 4. So it's a mathematical side of the brain. It immediately calculate and it immediately tell you what the answer is. It won't even blink. But the right side of the brain is where the complication happens, because that is not the analytical side. It doesn't know maths. It doesn't know calculation. It doesn't know what is the value of money. It doesn't know how difficult it is to earn money. It doesn't care how much time it takes to pay money. It doesn't know anything about maths. It doesn't know what numbers mean. It doesn't even calculate numbers. It doesn't process numbers. The left side processes the numbers. The right side doesn't process the numbers. You have no choice. God made you like this. When buyings take place, it takes place from the left side of the brain. When shoppings take place, it takes place on the right side of the brain. So for example, there's end of season sale. Okay, it's a sale. So you want to buy because fine, your clothes are old and you feel that there is a need to go and buy some clothes. So your left side will start processing information. This is the best time to buy because it's sale, it's flat 50% off, buy to get to free, good opportunity to buy. The left side will process and you'll embark on this journey to buy. And then something else will happen. Then your mind will say, conserve energy, because just outside your house or walking distance from your house, there is a high street store, which looks quite big, and you get the same products at the same price. Hence, you need not go to a big mall, travel 5, 6, 8 kilometers, and then struggle for 1 hour, and then find parking, and then go in the midst of all that is happening there. You can get the same product here. So that is where you lose out, and that is where the analytical brain, you means the mall professionals lose out. That's where the analytical brain takes over, and buying is taking place in high street. That's how high streets are flourishing. There are people who are much brave than that. They don't even step out. they'll say, okay, I'll take my mobile phone now because the same Louis Philippe shirt or whatever, and the same offer, buy one, buy two, get two free, is available on phone. So I won't even get out of the house. I'll get the same product delivered to me. That is also analytical side. The problem is, ladies and gentlemen, that malls operate on the creative side. Malls operate on the side where you don't process or calculate much in terms of the mathematics part of it. You operate, you means we mall professionals, we operate on the creative side of it, where maths is not working, but it is that self-concept which is working. It is the senses which is working. So that is why it is easy for people to buy a Rolex watch, though it is 10 times more, because they are in romance with the story. Now, the story of Rolex is as such. They haven't increased the capacity to make a watch. Why Rolex watches sell so much? There are several books that are written on Rolex watches. They have not increased the capacity for a very, very long time on how many number of Rolex watches are made. All Rolex watches are handmade, okay? And everything from start to end is made in-house. They have their own foundry in Switzerland where they have a formula where they make the steel, and the grade of the steel is the best grade of steel that anybody has ever created in this world. Yeah. And for leather watches, they have their own tannery. They don't buy leather from anywhere else. They buy skin and they have a processing. Every watch is handmade by experienced Swiss watchmaker is putting hundreds of pieces together to create a movement which runs on gravitational force, and it will keep running forever. It doesn't need a battery. And then there are complications like date, lunar calendar. It will know when 29th Feb will come and when 28th Feb will come, and it will just go on. So there's a romance behind it. So that romance is what people have fallen for. The quality people have fallen for, and what Rolex stands for. And then people are willing to pay, and there are more number of people wanting to buy than the watches that Rolex is making, because they have limited the production, and hence 10 times more demand. And then Rolex watches sell on twice the price. So 8 lakhs watch goes for 16 lakhs watch in the open market if you have got a Rolex in your hand. So that is how they are. Louis Vuitton, for example. Now, if you see, there's a store called Harrods in London. Now, you'll have to understand the theory of shopping, why people are buying and how people are buying. And if you can make your malls like Harrods, nothing like it. Now, the story about what happens in Harrods is that there's a big region, Middle East, in and around London. Now, all these Arabs, these rich Arabs, oil-rich Arabs, they have Louis Vuittons and Gucci's in their own cities. But no, they want to come to London and they want to buy Louis Vuittons and Gucci's in Harrods store, and they want to walk out with bags, like 3 bags here, 3 bags here, and walk out. And then all Europeans are standing and watching that, and with jaws dropping. And then these guys are walking out with those bags. Now that is the romance. Now that is the romance that Harrods has managed to create. And then several malls, some very, very successful malls in the world have managed to create. So we will discuss about that, how to create that romance in your mall, where people don't analyze, where people don't calculate, where people don't measure. Like, this brand gives 20% more, this brand gives 20% less for the same price. So it's not like atta dal chawal, So this is where you operate. So your malls, what I'm trying to say here is your malls should rise to connect with the creative part of the brain. Now, the question is, you have to ask yourselves, what is there in my mall which can connect to the creative part of the brain? So I will tell you what you can add in your mall which can connect to the creative part of the brain. Another interesting thing is in Singapore. Same thing. All this I've seen with my own eyes, and I'm sure most of you have who have traveled. In Singapore, you have these Chinese living in mainland China. They have Louis Vuittons and Gucci's and Pradas in the mainland of China, Guangzhou, Shenzhen, Hainan, all these places. But still, they will come to Singapore, they'll come to Hong Kong, and they want to buy a Louis Vuitton bag from Singapore. So that is the romance of it. And then I have seen with my own eyes that there is a queue in front of Louis Vuitton because the security has closed the door. Because at any point of time, you can't have more than 8 to 10 customers inside a Louis Vuitton store. So there are 8 to 10 customers already buying, and this guy has closed the door, and there are several people waiting outside to go and buy there. So they want to buy there only. So that's the romance. That's the romance. And that is the creative side where you take a flight, you fly down to another country and you want to buy there. So there are some malls who have managed to do this. They have managed to create or appeal to the creative side. And then that is definitely working for them. Now, if we agree, and I hope most of you agree that we mall guys operate on the creative side, Albert Einstein said something very interesting. He said, creativity is intelligence having fun. And that is exactly what we should have in our mall. Now, for us to be able to take cues from the psychology of shopping and try to build our malls, which can relate to the psychology of shopping, we have to add the creativity. We have to bring creativity and intelligence in our properties. Now, how do we do that? How do we bring creativity and intelligence in our properties? Now, it is now about 45 minutes. So do we take a break or do we continue?
Ali, I think we should continue.
Sure.
Yes, there are only 2 questions which have come.
Uh-huh.
But in the meantime, we can continue with it.
Okay. Okay, Shine. So we will address the questions maybe a little later. But I shall now continue. Now, let me see. So creativity is intelligence, having fun is where we were. And these are the 2 elements that we have to bring in our properties if we want to make our malls interesting, where people don't do logical calculations, but enjoy the process of shopping. So you have to understand what we are trying to create here. It's like shopping is celebration of life. You know, there are many reasons why a person buys. So buying is shopping is a self concept. They appeal to the self concept. Self concept is a very different psychological theory where you want to pamper yourself. You know, you want to give back to yourself. You don't want to wait for the world to acknowledge you or give you something. So, and everybody's story is different. Everybody is going through a different process. Everybody is going through a different time. But no matter what the time is, the self is always there. You're living, walking with yourself. And there is a time where you want to give it back to yourself. So when you shop for these products, you get into a romantic process. And then that is where the psychology and that's where the logic breaks. So it's not like you're trying to manipulate. Don't give it a negative tone to this. But what we are trying to do here is we are trying to make that process enjoyable, you know, make that whole process something which is fine-tuned and placed in a sequential order, which makes the enjoyment easier. And you know, you have to knit it together. And again, it's a very deep subject. I mean, we can keep going on and on, but in a very simple way, if I have to say, this is culture and design are the elements that can bring in creativity in your mall, and technology and distribution is what the intelligence side of the statement that we made before, which will bring in your mall. Now, how do we do this? How do we bring culture? How do we bring design? How do we bring technology? And how do we bring distribution in our properties? That's a very good question. Now we will dwell on each. We'll dwell on each and we'll see how we can add these elements in our mall. I'll go one by one. So we are talking about the creative side. We will finish the creative side, and after that is done, we will move to the intelligent side. So first, creativity wise, of course, mall is a creative environment. Shopping is a creative process. You have to get creative. You have to deal with people who are creative. It's just like movies. I mean, it's a very creative process how they make movies. And when people go to movies, they want to have a break. It's okay if it's not real. They want to have fun. They want to enjoy. And same thing is with shopping. It's okay if that bag is so expensive, but I can have it. And somewhere I need it. I want it. It's not the need, it's a want. I want it now. I want that Rolex watch on my hand, and I want to buy it. It's okay. Now, how do I buy it? Because it's difficult to get. More the reason why you should have it, because it's not available. So that's the kind of demand that people create, and that is the process. So hence, we have to tickle our creative side and bring creativity in the entire process. Now, when people are thinking about coming to malls, planning to go to malls, the whole process should be creatively aligned. For example, first is the mall design. Now here, I want to ask a question. I don't want to speak about architecture, but I want to ask a very simple question. In your own time, in your own personal time, if you have decided to go shop, buy something for yourself, shop something for yourself, which is the most favorite place that comes to your mind? Write it down. Just write it down. That's a small exercise. I can't see you guys write down. I hope you write down. Which is one place anywhere in the world that you would love to shop. Just write it down. It could be a high street, it could be a mall, it could be any city. You can write anything. Or which was the last time where you really loved shopping? Which place was that? Write it down. I hope you have written. Now, next question. Unfortunately, I can't gather this analytics. How many of you have written your own mall in which you are working, in which you are doing business or whatever? I don't know. But I presume that there are very few people who have written their own mall, that I love to shop in my own mall. It's unlikely. So, but there are a few. I like to shop in our mall, which we have just opened, for a mall in South Bangalore. And I'm sure there are many who would say their own mall's name, depending upon what all is there in the mall. But that is the question. That is the answer. If you have not written your own name, your mall name, and if you don't, which means that you don't find your own mall exciting or interesting, how do you expect anybody to find it exciting? How do you expect anybody to find it interesting? That's the question that for which you have to, find your own answer. Now, architects play a big role in designing of the mall, and whether it's an upcoming mall or whether it's an existing mall, you need to work with architects. And there's this field of ergonomics where they will bring in these elements and they will make this mall exciting. So that's the brief that you'll have to give them and work with them. They play a very big role. And what we are doing, we are working with a lot of international architects, and they are not as expensive as people might think. The problem is that these international architects, they don't give you shop drawings, which is the working drawings. So they are very expensive. So hence you need to align with a local architect who can work with you here in India, who can, based on the design drawings that they make, somebody should break that into a detailed drawing. So that is something that you can get, but you need to get architects from all over the world. You need to go to Spain, you need to go to Europe, you need to go to US, you need to go to South Africa, you need to go Australia, you need to go to different places and look for architects. And then we have 4 malls, and there are 4 different international architects working in these 4 malls, because each one will bring in a very different element, and each mall will turn out to be a very unique mall. So that is something which will create a lot of excitement, because ergonomics is a study of objects and how they come together, how they synchronize. Now, if it is well designed, then that positive energy will be there naturally. But if it is not well designed, and if it is something which is just putting things into perspective, then you won't get that wow. And when people want to celebrate, that's not the place that will come in their minds. So hence, to be able to be creative, you need to get hold of some very good architects, because at the end of the day, your mall is a building. And in your building is a controlled environment which you can control. So there is a chance for you to make a difference. So please make use of that. and try to work with these architects and local architects for GFCs. Second thing is change. Now we have given a brief. The brief works like this, that while designing itself, in the first design itself, you can ask for certain elements which can change without much work. So what you'll do is, after 3-4 years or 5 years, you can make that change, which will bring in a new element, which will bring a newness, a freshness to your property. But that is something you don't have to think later and bring the architect back. In the first discussion itself, you can think about some elements and do some works, which with very little changes and very little effort, you can actually make your mall look different. So at least 2 changes before you redo the whole mall. So that is something very, very essential. And abroad, there are malls who exuberate so much energy. There's a mall in London. It's called Westfield Mall. And if you do happen to visit London, you must go there. Or as a mall professional, you should plan to go to the mall. And then this mall is designed by Binoy, who's doing two of our malls, including the Forum Mall South Bangalore is designed by them. They think very differently, and they have a lot of concepts, a lot of things, a lot of elements. They believe in skylights. They believe in natural lights coming in. And today, with invent of technology, you can have the roofs which will bring transfer a lot of sunlight. And then can also dissipate heat. So you can avoid heat, but still throw a lot of sunlight. So please visit Forum Falcon City if you want to do research. I welcome all mall professionals. You let us know if you're coming. We'll show you around. You should really see how they have created, where the entire mall during the day is lit, naturally lit from this end to that end. Of course, it costs a lot of money, because most of it, this roof is glass, and in maintenance and cleaning and so on and so forth, but it is worth the money. So that is the kind of element that a mall design can bring. And there are some malls who start with the wrong design, and it is a struggle forever in terms of layout. I don't want to name any mall. I have seen so many malls in Bangalore itself where the placement of anchors or placement of stores, the wow factor is not there. And then forever, there's a struggle in that mall. So there's something that you need to be very careful with, because architect's fee is nothing less than 1% of the total project. And to just save a little money, we go compromise. According to me, this is the make or break of any mall development. Even if your mall is an existing mall, you can still hire these international architects, and they can just change the way your mall looks. I mean, I would challenge every mall professional to dream about having a mall where you can stand in that mall, take a photo, and you can be anywhere in the world. And then now in India, now we are building those kind of malls. Not only us, even some of our friends who are into mall development, we all are friends, we all are connected, we all help each other. They are also building some malls, and some malls today are being built, which is on par with anywhere else in the world. The second is the product and brand mix. Now, I don't want to talk about leasing here. How to do leasing, I think Rajni's already covered that. But what I want to say is that I'll give you a live example again. In 2018, 17-18, we had this Forum Mall Koramangala I spoke about. That mall is 3.5 lakh square feet. And there's a lot of competition in the city. There are 1 million square feet malls all around us. And then Forum Koramangala was not able to get the brands that these malls were able to get, because there's no space. We were landlocked. We couldn't expand. So what we did was we started focusing on a few categories. And we said we don't need to be a jack of all. We don't have to have one brand or one store of all the products. We said no. We will choose a few categories, and we will have many options within that category. So depending upon the location of Forum Koramangala, very young audience, youth, colleges, IT. IT happens in Electronic City in India, in Bangalore. And we are on the corridor of Electronic City. So a lot of youngsters from all over the world, IT sector, living in and around us. So hence we said, we started vacating kids wear from Forum Koramangala at that time. We started vacating home stores. We started vacating many other categories, and which didn't fall into our electronic stores. We started vacating them. We said, except Apple, we said, no, we don't need these brands. And we started reducing the content because we had to release space. And then we chose a few categories: cosmetics, bags, and so on and so forth, something which connects with these youth. And we added more stores within these categories. We said we will be master of these few categories, not jack of all categories, because I didn't have space. Of course, now with the biggest mall in Bangalore, Forum Mall in South Bangalore, I have space for everyone. But there, we did this, and I would still feel that if you have space restriction, if you're existing mall and you cannot expand and it'll take time, what you could do is do a quick research around you and find out which are the product categories which will relate or connect with the audience around me. It need not necessarily be cosmetics. So when in Forum Koramangala, when we decided to focus on cosmetics, bags and shoes, this young audience, we got in Sephora. We didn't have Sephora. We got the first Sephora of Bangalore in our mall. We got MAC, we got Kiehl's, we got several brands. I mean, and then not one, but 6 and top, all best in that category. So choose the categories according to your catchment. Start vacating. You don't have to have one of all. It's okay. There are a lot of options available. Free your space and create these zones of specializations where you get more option of the same. And second is merchandise. Third is merchandise. Now, when it comes to merchandise, we have hired some retail professionals for a new mall. It is important that the product that we have, the products that are sold from our stores are up to date. And then you need to have a team who is worrying about it, professionals who know about it, who go shop to shop and see that there is fresh stock, there is enough stock, there is not old stock, and it is placed well, it is done well. Because in India, we have a saying, "Jo dikhta hai, wo bikta hai." I mean, we can talk about technology and so on and so forth, but ultimately, what we see in our shopping floors is, if you have well merchandised store, if your stores are well stocked, then your sale is different. And you can also experiment this. Anytime you see that a particular shop's sale is going down for some reason in your mall, you just do a little research and you'll find out there could be many other reasons, but most of the times you'll realize that there's something wrong with the merchandise that is being stocked in the store. Now, somebody loses interest, somebody gives a priority, some new stores are opening, so they move all the stocks in that direction, and your mall will suffer. So this is something that you need to have a professional who can deal with something like this and make sure that this merchandising issue is taken care of. And third thing, a very important thing, is your store design. Now, we mall professionals have a problem. We are inside the mall, but outside the store. We own the mall. We are there in the mall, but we are not inside the store. The retailer says, okay, this is our space, so hence leave this to us. Now, this is where you need to get a little innovative. So when you release the space, when you have vacated some stores and you're combining stores and you're making larger stores of a certain category which you want to strengthen in your mall, what you should ask for is a flagship store. Now, flagship stores, by terminology, as per retailers, the investment per square feet is 30 to 40% higher than the normal stores. So why it is higher? Because the specs is higher. The brief is different. So they have some elements which are very expensive, and the cost increases per store about 30-40%. So this needs a lot of convincing, because if you give them a large size and they still do a larger store and it's not a flagship store, you're going to miss out on certain elements. So those elements are very, very important for you to create that experience, to really connect with the creative side of the customer. You need to really have stores like that. And AV is another very important aspect where I don't see much, not in all malls. This is something that can be very, very innovative way of communication. Whenever you have a festival or whatever, these video walls, they need to be there. This is the order of the day. You can create some very interesting stuff. You can synergize. You can have a content during Christmas running across all these AVs, across all the stores, celebrating Christmas or any other festival that you want to celebrate. So there your whole mall will become one whole experience. So that is something that can be done. I'm touching upon all the aspects which you can creatively add in your mall, which will increase the quotient of creativity in your mall, and which will inspire or excite customers whenever they decide to see. You can't make people buy a certain aspirational product, because that they are deciding any which ways in their own capacity. But you can be ready for them when those people come out looking for those products. So you could come out as a mall which is best planned to welcome those customers and use that opportunity. And third and very important aspect is culture. Now, we have taken a leap here. We have done something which most have not done till date. Now, I'm saying you are a platform. You have multiplexes. Fine. People are already coming to you for entertainment. Go to the next level. CPA is Center for Performing Arts. Your mall should become the Center for Performing Arts of your city. That is, apart from movies and multiplex, there is this live theater, live music, live performances. There's so much depth in that. There's so many languages that we have in our country, and then there's so many classical versions that we have in our country, so much of theater that is happening in our country, and so much of music happening in our country. It's a different experience, and it's a different level of engagement. When people come, and the quality of audience that you see is going to be very, very different when you stand out and say, okay, I am the Center for Performing Arts of our city. But what you need to have is a quality place where you need to design it. Don't put it in the mall atrium. I have done live music events in the mall atrium. I would never repeat that mistake. It was a mistake once upon a time. So we don't want to do that. And doing a live music performance on the side road, in the fire driveway, alongside the road where the traffic is flowing. Maybe you're doing it, but if you have a designated space, it's the best. And if not, the best space that you can find is clearing your terrace. If you plan your services well, you can move all the services to one side of the terrace, have the vertical access along with a lot of fire exits, safety norms built in. If your vertical transportation is going up to terrace, a terrace can be a very secluded, right environment where live music performances can take place, and it can add a lot of value, because this is something that is important for people. Culture. How many times will you think about changing a wardrobe in a year? Individually, yourself, you can ask this question to yourselves. How many times in a year do I buy something which I can put in my wardrobe? 60% of the mall's floor space is selling apparel. About 8 times, 10 times, 10 times in a year. It's actually very high, 8, 10 times. Average will be much less, 6, 7. But maximum 8 times in a year or 10 times in a year, we'll think about buying something which goes in your wardrobe. But something like music, art, and culture, you're living with it on a daily basis. Every 5 minutes, you take your phone, you're going to a social media or whatever, and you're connected with your passion. And you're connected with, you're following your stars, you're following your passion on Instagram. So you will respond to something like a culture much more often, 10 times more often than you will respond to apparel offering or any message related to apparel marketing. So this is something which brings people to celebrate culture, to celebrate music, to theater, live music theater, live performance theater. And that is something that malls can do, because this is again connecting to the same part of the brain where the creativity resides. So when they come to your mall to celebrate all this, live music, live culture, and when they think about splurging, is again going to connect with it, because it's connecting to the same part of the brain. So this is also the creative part of the brain. So hence you need this in your mall. And what we have done, so this is how your customer is. This is an image I wanted to show you after all that we have discussed so far. All the creative elements that we have discussed so far. We discussed design, we discussed product, we discussed brand mix, we discussed zoning, we discussed store design, we discussed culture. Now, if you see, this is the experience. So we as human beings, we process through our senses. And these senses, they strike few neurons. There are these neurons running in your body. They either fire up or they don't fire up, as per psychology. So what happens is, what you see, which is your, one sec. Yeah. So what you see has to be supported by what you hear, what you smell, what you taste, and what you touch for an amazing effect to take place. So this is very, very important. I repeat, what you see in your mall should get complemented or synergized with what you hear. Now, you can't be seeing something and hearing something else. Like you're seeing a very beautiful store layout, some amazing stores with amazing merchandise, but smell something bad, or hear something, uncomfortable, or taste something, or touch something. So, it has to synergize. You have to bind all these elements, and then when all these elements bind, a Harrods is created. When all these elements are binded together, a Westfield Mall is created, a Louis Vuitton is created. If you think of it, when people get hooked onto brands, there's no, I know this, it's surprising the limits that people can go to. For example, I gave the example of LVs and how people buy LVs and how they carry bags, like some vengeful shopping, and how people wait for years to collect that Rolex watch and so on and so forth. If you see, they are connecting to the same element. That's how they have become Rolex or Louis Vuitton. If you see Louis Vuitton as a policy, they spend a huge amount of their revenues not on TV ads, not on newspaper ads, and not on brand ambassadors, even if they have one or two. They spend most of their marketing money in their shop fronts, in their windows. And sometimes the money that they spend is unjustifiable. It's unbelievable. You can Google and every 2 months and every month they are changing their windows. And they are coming up with something very, very creative. They're challenging the status quo. They are really challenging people's thinking. And every month they are spending millions and millions of dollars doing the shop fronts with props and things, and which will keep changing, which will again connecting with the same. And then you walk into the store, whether these are shopping environments which are dominating this whole process. They connect with they connect all these dots to bring that reaction. Now, in your mall, the music that you play, the fragrance that you have, the visual stores that you have. Now, you can't have stores which are so good and your toilet's so dirty. So you have missed it. Or your parking lot not up to the mark. The same experience is not continuing in your parking areas. How are you going to make a difference? Because this is where we are missing out. This is where we call ourselves a control environment, but somewhere or the other, we are missing this link. This link cannot be missed because all these information goes into this brain and there's a chemical reaction that takes place and neurons get fired up. And then they say, you know what? I love this place. There's something about this place. I like to come here. I don't know why. I just keep coming here. I like to spend my time here. And then shopping happens. Shopping is not the primary thing. It will just happen on its own. Now, talking about culture, this is our mall, one of our malls, and these are the artists that have performed in our malls. Who's who of the country. We at Forum Malls, we managed to get, this is a live music performance happening in one of our malls. And now in our new property, I just want to share with you guys, we have taken it to the next level. Sunil, you're able to see all this, right?
Hello? Yeah, it's very much visible. Ali, continue.
Okay. So this is Prestige Center for Performing Arts. So we have been doing music events. We said, now let's take it to the next level. What you see here, Sunil, you can see this arrow, right? This is my toggle.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So this is the Forum Mall, the 1 million square feet mall in Bangalore, which I welcomed all of you to come and visit. We will be happy to show you the concepts that we have used here. And this is Center for Performing Arts. This is a live music performance, only for live music performance, theater, music. This is the seating. Nasiruddin Shah is performing tomorrow. We have a live performance by Nasiruddin Shah. He's playing Einstein. For those in Bangalore, I think tickets are sold out. Last 2 weeks back, we had the Turkish whirling dervishes that we performed here. And we started off with Ustad Amjad Ali Khan performing live. And this is a 1,100 seater auditorium with green room, a VIP room, makeup room, rehearsal room, or the world-class facilities behind this. Costed us a lot of money, but we hope to, we did this. We don't know which way it's going to go, how much revenue we'll be able to earn, but our management has taken that step to make different kind of malls. And I would invite you guys to come here and experience this. We will welcome any shopping center professional to come here, and we'll show you around. Bring these elements to the mall. So this is not just, so instead of just talking that you should do this, you should do this, you should do this, I am glad that I'm able to show you that I have done this. I mean, you please come and see. So we have the Binoy design our 1 million square feet mall. We have this Center for Performing Arts adjacent to the mall, connected to the mall. All of that you can see. So this is taking, so we have 12 screen multiplex in the mall. Plus, we have the Center for Performing Arts where live music performances can happen. So we are trying to do something very, very different here. We are trying to connect and engage people on the creative side very, very differently. And we're trying our best to, to leave no stone unturned. Now, the intelligence part. Now, I'm the last part of my presentation, and I have only 15 minutes. And we will end this in next 10 minutes, maybe. So this is the intelligence part. So we said there are two parts: creativity is intelligence, having fun. So we covered the intelligence, creative part of it, the creative elements that you can bring in your property, what you should pursue. And at the same time, I also showed you what we have done with a live example. Now is the intelligence part. This is required as well. First is data. One thing that is common among about our shoppers is change. That's the only thing constant. The only thing constant is change, and their preferences are changing, the opinions are changing, and the brands are changing, the preferred brands are changing, the tastes are changing, the preferences are changing. How will you know? How will you know? I mean, you can't live in an assumption that I think, I don't want to take any name, this is the best cosmetic brand and you should have. How do you know? Oh, this is an international brand. They have so many outlets. And then we need to give them this prime space. How do you know? On what basis do you make these decisions? Okay, I finally got this ground floor atrium store vacated. I know these are the mall issues. And then now I should give to this brand. And how do you know that is the brand what people want? How do you take such bold decisions, so brave decisions without any data? I mean, you need to have data, and data can be available. All you need to do is deploy aspects which can capture data, hire professionals who can interpret data. Don't try to interpret data on your own. It is not possible. Data interpretation is a different subject altogether. You need to get them on a retainer basis, and then finally use that data, share that data with your retailers, and use that data. How? Now, as far as data is concerned, we have facial detection cameras. They are a little expensive, but you can install them. And then you need to also invest in a cloud space where you can save this data. And then you can use this data to identify customers. There is something to do with licensing. That's a different process altogether. But if you deal with people, they can help you with licensing as well. But this data is a very interesting data. The facial recognition cameras is one. ANPR, automatic number plate recognition. And then third thing is your food court ordering, everything through your mobile. You don't have to go to the counters and collect orders. You can sit in your mobile, scan a barcode, and the entire menu along with logos come. Now, what happens is ANPR is capturing the data of the vehicle. Somewhere the facial detection camera is taking your photo. And then with your mobile phones, you're using them to order food or reserve table in your restaurants, in your mall. Somewhere you can loop these three, and you can put a face to this guy. Oh, this is the person. He comes in this vehicle and he spends so much time and he eats this food. He is a pure veg, and then so on and so forth, so on and so forth. Now there you start tracking the data, and then you need to interpret that data. You can only do it with professionals. And then after that, start using the data. Now this is something that will bring in accuracy. You can take informed decisions. And these are measuring tools which are required for you to succeed. Now, how do you know that a particular Diwali festival decor that you did, it was successful or it was good? How do you know that? What is the measuring yard? How do you know that your Christmas tree was better this year than last year? How do you know that? I mean, you need data. I mean, and there are cameras which actually can measure your emotions around a certain place. How many people were smiling, how many people were not smiling, and so on and so forth. So that is something that you can do. You can at least take note of these things and start discussing with people, because this will really help. The second thing is a very interesting thing that we are doing in our new mall. It's going to be a huge effort. We just opened a mall 2 months back. This will come probably in another 4-5 months, but this is something we are building. We have kept 20,000 square feet as fulfillment center. Now, what it does is we are trying to tie up with a logistics partner. We are speaking to several logistic people. So they will manage this 20,000 square feet and invest and make it as a backend storage space for all the stores in the mall. So all the stores can release all the storage spaces and use that as a sales floor. 100% of the store can be for sales, and your stocks, your storage, how much of a storage space that you store, you can in fact store 2 times more, 3 times more than what you usually store in our fulfillment center. And at any point of time when a customer is buying something in your store, the order comes to the fulfillment center digitally, and within minutes a runner delivers that product to your store in the mall, and you can just give it to the customer. So you carry more stocks, and you can release that much space in your own store. Then the next level of fulfillment center is that through the delivery channel partners, you can also deliver goods in and around 2-3 kilometer radius from your fulfillment center, because it has a separate access, separate parking, separate exit. They don't have to come through the normal route. All that we have already planned, and I can again invite everybody to come and visit. We'll be happy to show you. This is a work in progress, because we just opened the mall. We are launching this as a phase 2 model, because the retailers have to pay for it. Like there's a cost in technology, there's a cost in development, and there's a cost for manpower to manage all this. So hence somebody has to pay, and then retailers are the only guys who can pay for this. So once that model is accepted, but we have created that 20,000 square feet, and then we are partnering with a logistic partner, and then collectively we go approach the retailers, and hopefully this will be the next thing. Cloud kitchens, we are giving extra kitchens to all the food court operators to deliver food from a separate zone, where that directly they can go out. They don't have to come to the mall, and so on and so forth. And the third thing is pop-ups. This is another very interesting thing. There's a saying, Marlon Brando said, now pop-ups is largely for the online channel players who want to experiment offline. So like Marlon Brando said, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. So you have these set of brands who are with you always. They are coming with you everywhere. But there are also set of brands who are not with you. So let's create those spaces. I think there's one light store. And then my ex-colleague started that, and then there are a few more big names who are doing this. So they are signing up stores in the mall. They do the interiors, and they rent on a monthly basis to other brands who don't have an offline presence, and they give rent to them. I think this is something very interesting. You can bring in categories which you have never dealt with. You can bring in brands you have never worked with, and then you can experiment that. And if it goes well, those become the regular customers of your mall. So you can actually attract new class of retailers who have not been in mall. And that is going to be something a very big differentiator for your mall, because it's so predictable. Malls are so predictable. You can eyes closed say what is there in that mall, what will be there in that mall. This is how the atrium will be. And then these are the stores that will be, and then that's it. There's nothing else to go and see. So with this, you can actually create some good stores. One in each floor, I would say. One in each floor. We are exploring giving 3 stores to these guys, where one for each category. So one place they only get food guys, different food guys, and some for jewelry, and then some for apparel, and some for electronics. So these stores can, every month, a brand should change, a maximum 3 months. After 3 months, a product brand should change, and a new brand should come. And then that is a new novelty that you can bring in your mall. And of course, last point of the last subject, we have evolved. It's not just because of COVID or what happened during COVID. I think you have to move ahead to a touchless, seamless mall where you come to the mall in your car. You don't have to lower your window. Your number plate recognized. Your fast tag has already got activated. And then your boom opens, you come, you park, and your boom opens, you go out. You don't even lower your window. And then for washrooms and for everything else. In fact, from an operations point of view, there's something called IBMS, Intelligent Business Building Management System, Intelligent Building Management System, IBMS. This needs to be invested in, where you reduce your manpower. You don't have guys running around here, there. There's a team sitting in your BMS room, and then with that, seamlessly, you're managing your plant rooms, you're managing your chillers, you're managing your cooling towers, you're managing your fire, you're checking your fire hydrants, you're checking for the safety, you're checking your cameras, you're checking for anything which is unusual. Your intelligence system tells you that these toilets are not used during these days, so hence keep them closed. Don't have the manpower there. Don't waste the manpower there. And then you can save on so much, and then pay more. Like, our chairman, Mr. Irfan, always says, I rather use technology and pay double the salary and reduce the quantum of people deployed. So two things happen. One, smart people are working with us who are paid well, and technology is also working with us, which is make it very seamless and touchless experience. This is a must-have. Even billing, for example, is a must-have. It's a seamless, touchless billing system, and we have technology access today. So the more seamless and touchless we become, the more experiential we can become. So we have covered two parts of the conversation here. One was how to bring creativity in your malls, and second part was how to bring intelligence in your mall. I hope you guys have made notes. And with that, and just in time, 90 minutes, 3 to 4:26, 4 minutes to go. We promise to keep bringing the best of this world to forum malls every day. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that was useful in some way or the other.
Well, Ali, it's a very interesting session. And, we have got some questions from our viewers. Mr. Mangesh Deshmukh, his question is, buying is compulsive, but shopping is impulsive. What do you
Yes.
have to say?
Very true. So it's the same concept which we discussed.
Yeah.
Compulsion comes with the life. You have to live, you have to eat, and you need certain essentials in your life. So hence you need to do that, and then hence that is the compulsion. And that is what wakes up every day. It makes us wake up every day, come to work, so that those things can get taken care of. And shopping is impulsive, yes. Unfortunately, in India, 90% of our footfalls are not shoppers. Only 10% is shopping. And then even if you see the balance 90% who don't come with a shopping in mind, they're not specifically planned shopping in mind, they impulsively shop, and their shopping is more than what the planned shoppers buy. So that's going back to Paco Underhill's theory. If people bought only what they need, the economy of the world will collapse. So it's that impulsive shopping that we are trying to creatively pull in into our malls. So that is the response for that. It is 100% correct, Mangesh. And then the next one. Next one.
The gentleman has, not mentioned his name. And what he's asking, how does buying and shopping concept connect with retailers opening stores on the high street instead of malls? Should I repeat the question?
Yeah.
Yeah. The question is, how does buying and shopping concept connect with retailers opening stores on the high street instead of malls?
Okay. So buying is something where you have already decided what you want. You know what you want. It's a process that you have to go through. It's a different process. It's a physiological process where you have to get yourself out, go through the experience of moving from place A to place B, completing a transaction, because you already know what you want. So what happens is, as per psychology, the neural circuitry of mankind is built on three premises. There are three objectives of human beings as per psychologists. One is survive. Second is reproduce. Third is conserve energy. And according to science, they are the only three objectives of man: survive, reproduce, conserve energy. And everything that we do in our lives, every single thing that we do in our lives is around these three objectives. So the conserve energy comes into play. And then you finish the buying process because you have already decided, you know what you want. So in buying, you might choose a different color shirt, a different size, or you might try make a little different experiment. But 80% of the time, you know what you want. You know what you want. So your mind will say conserve energy. Okay. And then there's nothing unique that is available in mall, which is not available in high street. In fact, there is more available in high street and less available in malls. So hence, that process is different. So people move there and they finish that. Shopping is where you don't know what you want. You have absolutely no idea that today you bought a new iPhone. When you left home, you didn't even think about it. I mean, you didn't even want it. So going to an Apple store on a high street is more complicated because you won't search where an Apple store is unless you have already decided to buy. So buying takes place in Apple stores in high street also, but there you have already decided. But the impulsive thing which Mangesh spoke about is the same thing which happens where you are going to a mall, maybe to watch a movie or just like that because you don't know what else to do. And then you saw this Apple store, you strolled in, and then you started buying. So hence, retailers are there in both the places. So either ways, they win. So as far as the mall professionals are concerned, you need to attract people who are trying to shop more than buy. Of course, buyers will also come. It's not like buyers will not come, but they will not travel. People go from here to Dubai to shop. So that is something which we have to create. Like people can travel when they want something. And there was a time where people had to go abroad to shop. But yeah, that is the concept that works. So
okay, now the next question is, again, the gentleman has not mentioned his name. How can shopping malls work with retailers to create a more attractive shopping experience for customers? And what type of collaborations have been successful in the past?
I think the biggest collaboration we are yet to do is data. We have some data with us about customers, and retailers have the data about the same customers, but the customer data which retailers have is far more valuable than the customer data which we have. That is the guys who have actually shopped. That is that 20% of that customer. The Pareto's principle, there's a principle called Pareto's principle, and the Pareto's principle says that 80% of your business comes from 20% of your customers. So the data that the retailers are holding is that 20% of customers who bring 80% of the business. So that data they don't want to share. Adidas is worried that if they share the data with the mall will sell that data to Nike. And Louis Philippe is concerned that if they share the data with the mall, then mall will share the data with Raymond's. And then so is Raymond's concerned with. So hence, this is something where we need to come together. Maybe we can't trust each other, fine, no problem, because we are on the opposite axis. We see 6, they see 9. But what we could do is we can tie up with some technology partners. There are so many technology partners, Deloitte or IBM Watson or someone who can take the data from us and take the data from retailers, compile this data, interpret this data, not reveal the source, the details of the data, which are critical in terms of the mobile numbers or name of the people, but share the analytics, which will help us stock. Now, suppose in this neighborhood or in this city, there are more running shoes which sell than the walking shoes or exercise shoes. So that's an information that people need. Or the waist sizes in summers is different from the waist sizes in winters. So that will help people stock accordingly. So this kind of information can be very, very valuable to us. And mall guys can give free parking, mall guys can recognize them and reward them in different ways. And there's some collaboration. So data is something I would only speak about data here. That is the most important thing that we can collaborate and work with. And that is what we have not done.
Okay. Highlight Mall marketing department has a question for you.
Mhm.
Why Atrium is not the right place for activities? If not Atrium, then where is the ideal location? Although you have explained it, but
Ah,
since you
yeah,
raised the question,
yeah. So we had
so
Ustad Zakir Hussain performed in a mall. So we had this Forum Mall, Shantiniketan, Whitefield, Bangalore. So for the first time, he performed in a mall. And after the performance, when we interacted with him, he was not really happy. He said, you know what? And he's a maestro. So he was like, I didn't enjoy because there was a lot of disturbance. And I showed you the performing Center for Performing Arts. That's the ideal place where they would like to perform. Mall, see, music is something that you need to enjoy with focus. And how will you focus with so many things happening around you? Now, that's not something that can work. You need to create a dedicated space, create the right ambience. And second is you're bringing in one ambience and confusing the other, because nobody will benefit. Neither the performer will benefit or the audience will enjoy the music. Neither the shoppers who have come to shop will enjoy shopping. So you have actually compromised two customers, those who have come to shop and those who have come paid and come to enjoy the music. So you need to find. So I suggested that if you don't have a center for performing arts, of course, we bought the land. We thought ahead of it 4 years back that we will do a center for performing arts here. We'll do a mall here. We connected that. We all worked that years back. It took years for us to do. But if you want an immediate fix, I said, see if you can put all your services on one side of the terrace and you can segregate some space and then have vertical transportation in terms of fire safety norms running up and down. And then terrace could be a space where the performance can happen without much disturbance to shopping.
okay, Sheetal is asking, can you please elaborate on the way an event's effectiveness is measured?
Yeah, very good question, Sheetal. Now, there are two things that you need to measure. One is how fast you sell your tickets. So I said we are doing Nasiruddin Shah is performing live in our Center for Performing Arts tomorrow. It's a sold out. But what you should measure is how soon did you sell. So that you have to measure that against time. So that is a hint, the how soon it goes. And then second thing is most important measure is your digital impressions, the social media impressions. What happens is there's a concept called 1990 in social media marketing. There's a concept called 1990. So when one person captures something, a live music performance where he's there, so he takes a selfie where Arijit is singing live, and then he posts on social media. That is received by 90, and those 90 will share with somebody, and then 1990. So one from there to 9 people, and then 9 to 90 people. So that concept will just move. You need to measure your social media impressions. Which event created most social media impressions? Your digital marketing agency can give you that data. That is something that you can measure. You need not measure the sales of that day. You can relax. Forget about it. That's not how it works. That if your boss is saying you did such a big live music performance or this event, you spend so much money, but I didn't see upside. Obviously, you will not see upside. I mean, we are talking about human beings here. We're not talking about machines. It will take time. It's a long-term phenomenon for you. How many years will it take somebody for a Rolex to build a brand like Rolex? I mean, I've spoken so much about them. So it takes time to build that concept. And then you need to not only build, you need to also hold them. So you need to keep doing that events. You have to have a long-term perspective. Don't, for God's sake, measure that day's sale, that weekend sale compared to last weekend sale, because the sales can happen for so many reasons and not happen for so many reasons, nothing to do with this event. But what you need to see is how soon you sold the tickets, which will also help you price your tickets correctly. You can also increase it next time, because if you are sold out very soon, that means you underpriced it. So if you are selling it till the last minute, that means your tickets are priced correct, because it should not just go easy. So that means there was an opportunity for you to make more money or recover more money, because you are spending a lot of money. And second, so digital social media impressions is what you should measure. Sales in that particular week is not a measure.
Okay. Well, Upwan from Siliguri is asking, of course, the question is, how was pulling customers made possible in Forum Koramangala when it was opened in an isolated area?
Well, if somebody asks you a question, uh, who's the first man on moon? Everybody will know the answer. It's Neil Armstrong, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But if I ask you who was the second man on moon, how many people will know the answer? About 10%. That it was Kurt Aldrin. And if it gets even more complicated when I ask who was the third man on moon, because hardly anybody will know, probably 1% of people will know who it was. So we were the first mall to have opened in the country with the multiplex. So I met Mr. Nalli Kuppuswamy Chetty many years later. So 2004 is when we opened Forum. Many years later, I met him when I was opening Forum Chennai. That time we signed Nalli. They opened with us. So when I went and met with him, I asked him, sir, I hope you know about us. We are Prestige, we are Forum Mall. I hope you know about us. He said, yes, of course I know you guys. In 2004, when your mall opened, I, along with my CFO and my daughter, we flew down to Bangalore. We came to your mall, we watched a movie, we ate in McDonald's, we took a flight and we came back because I wanted to see what this is. So that was the hype of being the first that we created. Any mall that opens in a region for the first time will always enjoy that. In any city, the first mall that opens in that city will enjoy that, the first mover's advantage, and people will be curious to know what it is and how it is and why it is and where it is. So that the being the first really helped us, and it became successful, overnight success. I mean, we had footfall straight away. And from the first day, and people, this is something people have seen abroad, not seen here, and many who didn't travel abroad had not seen something like that. When I used to say that there are 11 theaters on one floor, nobody could believe it. So that was for the first time, and we opened this 18 years back. To have 11 theaters open on in one floor, so it was something at that time. Yeah.
Okay, Providence Small Marketing Team wants to know what are some of the emerging trends in the shopping mall industry that can help to increase footfall, such as incorporating technology or offering unique experience.
Yeah. So there's a chain called Westfield Mall. I think, you know what? I think our topic we chose was wrong. It was, so driving footfall to the mall, I'm seeing only marketing guys here. Whereas my topic was not just about marketing. It was, about leasing, about design, about so many other things. Maybe we should have named it differently. But yeah, so what technology can do. So there's a mall company that I really admire and follow personally, is a Westfield Mall. Uniball Rodemco is the developer, and they have a mall chain called Westfield Mall. They are the number one in the world. Officially, the number one mall company in the whole world is Westfield Malls, Uniball Rodemco. They did something very interesting. They got Lady Gaga to perform in one of their malls in Europe. Lady Gaga, and she's very expensive, right? $1 million. And they paid her that money to come and perform live. You know what they did? She performed in one mall live. They put large screens in 30 other malls and did a live telecast. And technically what they say is a million people came to watch that show, because it was live telecast and all the 35 other malls saw it live while it was happening in one of the malls. So this synchronization is possible. Where you do events in one place, it is seen in another place. And then you can, if you have multiple centers, you can really do something like this. That is one. Second thing is, I already spoke about all these technological features which people are using nowadays, reducing the manpower. And one thing that I would like to say here is that when you land in the mall, the moment you enter, in that first few seconds, if there is nothing in that mall which makes you say, wow, then I think you have a lot of work to do. But that is very essential, because that is what customers are looking for. People, though it is convenient to buy Apple phone online, people prefer to buy globally in an Apple store. Why? Because they want to go through that experience, because they won't buy a 1 lakh rupees phone every day. So when they are actually buying, they want that experience. So they want to go and experience that store, experience that environment, and walk out with that joy. So it's pampering. So hence, that is something that we can really learn how they use digital screens how they use diffusers to create that aroma, and the kind of materials that they use, a lot of wood and so on and so forth, to create that warmth. Yeah.
Okay, if everything else is constant except for location, does a 1 million square feet mall in the periphery of the city still hold an edge over a 5 lakh square feet mall in the center of the city?
It depends on a few factors. It depends on a few factors. You can, in fact, you said 5 kilometers away from city, you said?
Yeah.
I
No,
can,
no, no, no. The question is, if everything else is constant except for location, does a 1 million square feet mall in the periphery of the city still hold an edge over a 5 lakh square feet mall in the center of the city?
yes, it does. It depends on a few factors. One is connectivity. How easy is it to connect and travel? If it is going to be more than an hour, in India, 1 hour is acceptable. People are willingly ready to travel or give 1 hour of investment to travel one way. And if it is more than that, and if it is inconvenient, then it's going to be a challenge. So you can place your 1 million square feet mall on the outskirts, and if it is well connected by good roads, yes, you have a chance. That is the most important factor. The second most important factor would be what kind of brands you can bring, because that is another challenge. Just because you're building 1 million square feet mall, Zara and H&M are not going to be ready to come. They want to know so much more. So many more things that you need to do to be able to create that mix. I mean, leasing professions will know to really convince the board to agree to their terms, and for them to see value, and then them to be willing to open a store. Zara is opening a store doing fit outs in our Forum Mall in South Bangalore. And that seems they are opening a store after 3 years, 4 years now. In 3-4 years, they have not opened a store. They stopped expanding in India. So what kind of brands you get, and then how good your connectivity is, and if your experience is worthwhile, definitely yes. The Westfield Mall I spoke about in East London is outside the city. The Blue Water Park in London is outside the city. When Mall of Emirates opened in Dubai, Dera city center was in the city center, it's still in the city center. It was outside the city. So hence people do travel, can travel, provided, and of course it is very difficult to find a large land parcel in the city, in the heart of the city. So the only place you can build your mall is in the outskirts of the city. And then hence, yes, it is possible on connectivity, product mix, ambience, design, whatever we discussed so far.
Okay, Ashish Rathi, he has written, thank you, SCAI, for arranging it, and Mr. Ali for this enriching session. So many takeaways which can be ideated and implemented. Now, Mr. Sushil Paraste from DB Malls, he's asking, many families prefer shopping at local or high street market than malls, especially for weddings. What are the psychology behind it?
Now, I have a hard stop in next 5 minutes, Sunil, because I have another presentation. But yeah,
okay, we'll wrap up very soon.
Yeah. Yeah. So I like to answer this very, very interesting question. I met a lot of cultural ethnic retailers. So, so what happens is this community needs to be in our mall. I would like to call them the community who deal with this traditional retail, and these are largely owned by families, and they are all cash rich. These traditional retailers, their mindset is a little different. They don't believe in paying rents. They don't believe in giving away maintenance, scams such high 35-40 rupees, and then plus GST and so on and so forth. That is one problem. And then high streets have evolved a period of time. So these high streets didn't come overnight. So they have a history, whether it is a commercial street, Bangalore, or so on and so forth, or T Nagar in Chennai. So there is a history. There's these memories which are there of going and buying for weddings there, and these large stores, 5544 stores which they own, and they don't have to pay rent, and they are sitting with loads of cash. They're sitting with loads of their cash-rich companies. They say, "Okay, why should I give 12%, 18% return to you when my money is sitting in my bank?" This is a question somebody told me on my face in Chennai. I got RMKB to sign 50,000 square feet. It is still there in Forum Chennai, which is now Nexus. And I signed Nalli. Of course, I signed them, but there were so many others who told me on my face, "I have cash sitting in my bank, earning 3% interest, 2%. Why should I come to your mall and give you 18%, 20%? Because the rent that you are asking, it will eventually mean that I'm giving you a 20% return on your investment." So these are their thought process is different. It's not going to be easy for you to crack them unless you have gone to a region where they are not there already and they see value in coming to you. But then how you put together is going to be a challenge. This is why mall trading is not on par. We are not 100%. This is the reason. We are not trading as much as we are supposed to trade. This is the reason. Because if you see a woman's wardrobe, if you see the consumption, the way it happens in India, it happens mostly during the wedding. Wedding is where people splurge and really show their minds. And then these guys, this community of retailers, they don't want to come to malls. And then we are losing that opportunity because if you open any wardrobe, 50% of the clothes is Indian, cultural wear, Indian wear. And if you actually assign value, the most expensive stuff is again this ethnic wear and cultural wear. And people have paid huge amounts of money to buy those clothes. And that is not coming to our malls. So that is a concern because the problem is at the source of the problem is at the return on investment where we are not comfortable paying rent. So that needs to be seen. And second thing which happens is they say, okay, another retailer told me, you want to give to this H&M guy upper ground floor, main atrium facing shop. And for us, you say you go to third floor. Why should I come to your mall? I mean, I trade 10 times more than what those brands will trade. And you want to throw me up. And you're saying you go up. That's where you belong. Who are you to decide? Somebody asked me that question. He asked me, who are you to decide that I should go on second floor? I'll open a store opposite to your mall and it will do 10 times more than the store that you have in your mall. So that's the problem.
Okay, Mr. Mangesh.
Last question. Yeah, I can take a last.
Just I'm concluding it. Okay, the last. Okay, you can take it as a last question. Mr. Mangesh Deshmukh, he is asking, can you share your perspective on e-commerce versus high street versus malls? Which format will grow the most in the next 5-10 years?
Well, when pandemic happened, online grew for obvious reasons. Post-pandemic, offline is growing for obvious reasons because people don't want to consume and they want to come out and buy. So it all depends on the environment, what is happening in the environment. As on today, the story is that online is degrowing and that has been seen. And movies are back with a bang. I mean, now movies have started crossing 1,000 crores, including Bollywood movies. So that is a phenomena which giving reasons to for people to come. So, but one thing is the shopping cannot happen. The psychological process that we have been speaking about cannot happen online. What happens online is research. So when somebody wants to buy a certain product which is expensive, they do research online. They see reviews, but when they want to buy, they won't buy online. They want the experience. They want to make sure that they go to the flagship store, the brand store, and it is genuine, and they want to experience that product. Similarly, jewelry. No matter how much money Joy Lucas, Malabar Gold, Tanishq throw on online, people will only buy high value items in the store after wearing the product because that is the experience that they want to do, and they want to take the entire family when they do that. So that this is the process. So offline will always have an advantage over online at any time. And then there are certain things that people will buy online, which is convenience. It's something that you need not go out. It will not be very high value. And then something which is, which we can avoid being in malls. So hence we have an advantage over online. And then unless a pandemic kind of situation comes, offline is set to grow.
Okay, Ali, with this, we conclude our today's session. It was really very informative and enlightening. I hope all my viewers must have enjoyed it and must have learned a lot. And I thank you for sparing your precious time for SCAI and all our viewers and for the industry. With this, we conclude our today's session. Thank you, everyone.
It was a pleasure from my side. Always here. Love to be here. Love to do this. Thank you all. All the best.